Giving credit to my father. Even though he's cheap, he's right some of the time. Some of the time. The fact that I found that the old school Trick cereal is being sold in a big generic bag for cheaper than any name brand cereal. And the name brand Trix has switched to dog food. And I would only know this because I checked the aisles. And I wouldn't be checking the aisles if I didn't know that there are some good generics. And I know there are some good generics thanks to my father feeding me shitty generics and good generics. And now I know how to pick the difference. In the cereal aisle, never get generic Cheerios. Name brand only. Generic Cheerios are junk. No good. They're not dog food. They're decent, but they're not Cheerios. But if you buy the generic Trix cereal right now, you are getting the 1990s Trix cereal that was exactly sold, old recipe, on the market in the 1990s. Exactly, with marshmallows. And that cereal is the best. I haven't seen Trix cereal be pressed in the fruit shapes like strawberries and bananas and half of oranges in at least 20 years. I am 31. Maybe the last time I saw it in that shape was at age 11. That is the best texture, with or without teeth, that you can get in a cereal because they press it more compact, making it melt in your mouth. It also gives it a harder texture if you like hard. So if you have teeth, you get a crunch. But if you don't have teeth, it melts in your mouth and with a little, after only a couple seconds. It also handles in the milk better than the puffs. But I would not know this today, in 2023 and 2024, if it wasn't for my father telling me that generics can be good and I should always buy the generics. What he was wrong about, but what he was right about, is some generics are good. A lot of them are trash and should be thrown directly in the trash can. But some are better than the name brands because the name brands switch their products and make mistakes. Like the name brand Trix has switched to dog food puffs. Meanwhile, the generics have the old school Trix. So they have gone backwards. Back in the day, the puffs were the junk. Even the Cheerios were puppy. Now, to save money, the name brand companies have cut out the customers through cost. They don't care what we want anymore. Three big corporations own almost all the name brands out there. So if you want something like a pressed cereal that you remember from the 90s, look through a generic. I did not learn that from my father. I learned that for myself. But what I did learn from my father is generics are good. He was only half right about that, but I wouldn't have known at all that generics were good without him at all. And if he wasn't spending his own money buying me shit, well, actually, now I found out that was Social Security given to me from the state to buy me clothing, and so I went without clothing so I could have generic Trix and generic, well, actually, the orphanage gave me Trix. I think my dad was more into cornflakes and Fruit Loops. I think that's what I got a lot of the time. But he let me pick out my own cereals too. I think I did pick out Trix a couple times too. But they switched to pups, I remember, wow, picking it out. So, and the orphanages carried the pups after a while too, and the peel off lids, and the hospitals carried, I guess it's made by the Kellogg's because there's only a couple cereals that all these orphanages and hospitals carry. They're always the same. Trix is one of them that's actually in the box sets usually, and I mean they used to be one of the common ones. Anyways, so I'm only mentioning this now. I don't have these things often. I usually have Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios in the house, but once in a while, if I want a long-lasting dessert for cheap, I'll buy a fruity, sugar-packed cereal, and that will be my dessert for the month. It also holds up in the cabinet for a long time. I also don't need a freezer, I don't need a refrigerator, and you can eat it dry if you pick out the right one. Like if you pick out Trix cereal that's pressed in the fruit flavors and fruit shapes, you can eat that as a snack because they're pressed really hard, they're not powdery, and they have that texture of a snack that you might buy, like those Graham Bears that they used to make that were cookie flavored, Cookie Bear Grahams or whatever. The Trix pressed fruit cereal has that same texture. So these are things that I just do to save money that are a little healthier than eating a bowl of ice cream or eating a candy bar. It's not healthy, but it's healthier, and it's something I might do in replacement of eating a dessert that's really unhealthy. But most of the time, I'm Cheerio man, or Corn Flakes, or one of my favorites, all-time favorites, Rice Krispies. Oh, it just melts in your mouth and pops and has a good texture. Or, actually, honestly, 90% of the time, I'm a oatmeal guy. I'm talking cold cereals, but I have pounds and pounds of oats in my house or in my luggage, for goodness sake. I'm not even kidding. I, I traveled around with oats and a teapot to boil water in the woods with. I'm that type of guy. Rice is too difficult to cook, measure out in the woods. Oats, on the other hand, boil some fucking water, pour it over the goddamn oats, throw a sprinkle, a couple Dunkin' Donuts packets of sugar on top. Maybe go to the dollar store and get a giant thing of cinnamon that will last you the rest of your life for $1. Pour a little bit of that on top. You got cinnamon sugar, cinnamon flavored oatmeal. Boom. In the middle of the woods. And all you had to do was get one stick, a fire going, 3 rocks, your mini teapot over that, and you got breakfast. Oh, and you get an old Dunkin' Donuts cup that hasn't been used from Dunkin' Donuts. Ask them for an extra cup. You take a couple sugar packets and throw the oatmeal in the cup. Boil the damn water. If you're lucky, maybe you have one of those gas boilers in the woods. Maybe you got to prepare before you were tossed into the woods to freeze to death. I didn't have any preparation. This wasn't something I got to plan with. I didn't get to become 30 years old, get a license, get a car, lose my car, get a wife, lose my house, lose my wife. None of that. I was literally in the woods, abandoned at the age of 10 years old in New Mexico. I was abandoned at the age of 2 years old. I was OD'd on medication and left to die on a pile of newspapers at 7 years old. I was left to die by my own friends, my own family on the Riverwalk and froze to death and had to be brought back to life. And I doubt my family even got the fucking phone call that I was pronounced dead on arrival and brought back, and then 2 days later came out of the coma and was released. I doubt they even knew that that was going on, even though they were my emergency contact. My friends knew that that was going on at the time, and I wanted to know why they left me. They said they were scared because they were drinking and they were drunk. Oh boy, so you left me to freeze on a literal day where it was 20 degrees and then literally dropping 20 when you left me. And you know, this is not in a spot where people are really going to go on the Riverwalk. We are literally in the middle of a crossover where you cross over to the river. This is not a common, you know, maybe 2 people cross over there all day long. Oh, but we threw a blanket over you. Um, I've hit my head. I'm unconscious and I just shook and it's 20 degrees out and that blanket doesn't even cover my body. It's one of those little flimsy $5 shawl little things. Actually, I don't even know that. somebody else told me about it afterwards and said it was just that one they had in their backpack. I said that thing was a frickin' shawl. But anyways, the hospital didn't give me the blanket when I left. I didn't know nothing about a blanket. They might have been lying about it. But when I asked about it, they told me it was the one in the